Welcome to the She Speaks to Inspire podcast. I'm your host, Julia Kraft, your authentic expression mentor and public speaking coach. She Speaks to Inspire is an empowering public speaking podcast for women with public speaking fear. Unlike other podcasts on public speaking, She Speaks to Inspire not only gives you tips to be a confident communicator under pressure, but also helps you regulate your nervous system for less anxiety, learn lifestyle practices to reduce burnout and overwhelm, and reconnect with your feminine leadership presence for more authenticity and comfort in your skin. I believe it's the quiet ones, especially the quiet women, who have the most important ideas. I believe the world really does need your voice. So let's dive in. We're here today to talk about why emotionally charged conversations and confrontation can trigger you to feel more anxious and what to do about it. I want to talk about something that's a little uncomfortable to say, but let's ask the question, what is it in me that makes confrontation uncomfortable? It's really easy to blame the other person. Like, oh, that person, that boss at my work is really aggressive, or that woman has a really strong personality and I don't like it and she should change. She should know that you don't talk to people like that. That's just not how you communicate. But this question flips the tables. What is it in you that makes confrontation uncomfortable? Because what I've come to see is that some people thrive on conflict and confrontation. Some people, their normal is to be loud. I'm actually from an Italian-American family. My father is American, but my mother's side of the family is Italian. And they're loud. They're passionate. Hey, no, there's a lot of energy and strength in how they communicate, but there's also a lot of respect. It's not like they're taking anything too seriously and, then they move on. Some people are like that. If I could generalize, I could say extroverts are more often like that. Now, if you're hanging out with a bunch of respectful introverts, perhaps the conversation goes differently, right? Where you're more considerate of each other, you take more time to really think things through, you speak more quietly, you're speaking one-on-one versus in a big group. All these things probably would make you more comfortable, right? So why does it make you uncomfortable to have someone speak loudly with emotional charge? Why does it make you uncomfortable to be around confrontation, someone who tells you you're wrong, or someone that you have to tell that they're wrong? It's a confronting question that I'm asking you right now, and yet I think it's a really important one to ask. What I often see with the women that I work with is that they're more prone to feel anxious and uncomfortable around confrontation and emotionally charged conversations because they are empathic women. Now, what does empathic mean? Empathic is a term that is trying to get at the experience. It's a very internal experience, very personal experience. It's hard to put your finger on, but it's an experience of I feel what you feel, or I feel what's happening in this space deeply. I'm sensitive, you could say, and the highly sensitive person is a more commonly accepted term these days. I have a great book that's called The Art of Extreme Self-Care, and it's specifically for highly sensitive people. She says that on the book cover. When I first read that book, this huge light bulb went off in my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, there's other people like me. And it helped me to accept myself. It helped me to not beat myself up and then start to be practical about what I needed, because that book is very practical. It's by Cheryl Richardson. She's amazing. Check her out. But I learned over time that not everybody is like me, and that I have to be able to work with and communicate with all different kinds of people while still being me and still being okay, still feeling good within myself and not getting thrown off my center. That all being said, I do recommend that you find environments and people that you easily like working with, right? Like, don't keep yourself in a situation just to challenge yourself or just to make sure that you grow. Please find an environment that is nourishing for you. And sometimes we don't have a choice, right? Sometimes there's a person that we have to engage with that is challenging for us, or a topic that you have to bring up that is challenging. Do you have a boss that tends to raise their voice? Do you have a boss or manager that tends to push back on you? Or when they push back on you, you totally shut down? Do you freeze up? I've had this experience where I just can't think straight. And then I go away for a little while, I just get away from the situation, do something else, maybe do something to relax myself. And then some clear thoughts come to me. I'm like, wow, why didn't I say that? Why didn't I think of that? But the reason that's happening is because your nervous system is recognizing a threat to your safety. I talk about this a lot in my podcast and everything I do, that your nervous system is recognizing a threat to your safety and is shutting down. It's going into freeze mode, which means that there isn't blood and energy available for critical thinking, right? To be present. Everything's about, at that point, how do I get away from this situation to feel better? It's survival. Survival is not thriving. So ultimately, I would want you to avoid that freeze state, learn strategies to avoid it, as well as start to shift your mindset and your perspective and your beliefs so that you don't end up there so quickly. Because notice what I said. I said that your nervous system is perceiving a threat to your survival. Perceiving a threat. It's a perception of a threat. Does that mean there is a threat? Is there a real threat? And this is why we have to ask the question, what is it in you that makes confrontation uncomfortable? A lot of times I see with women, especially the kind of women that are more anxious and nervous about speaking and communication, that they have an inherent fear of being wrong in some way. So there's something wrong with me. I'm going to get the information wrong. The other person is going to think I've done something wrong. I could go on and on. Something about being wrong. And then it's a fear of being rejected, fear of being scolded, of being wrong, right? Ask yourself how much that's playing into your fear of confrontation. If you didn't fear being wrong, would you still be afraid of having that emotionally charged conversation? If you were completely okay with being wrong or not having the right answer or not knowing what to say, if you were completely okay with things going differently than you planned, a lot of times it comes down to fearing the unknown. Right? Fearing an uncertain future. This is the art of improvisation. None of us can know what the future holds. And when we're confronted with that, which often happens in communication moments with other people, whether it's public speaking in front of a group or an important one-on-one conversation, you're confronted with the fact that I don't know how this is going to go. Saying this, what I feel I need to say right now, is a risk. That fear of an uncertain future can keep us frozen. And then the question is how to stay steady despite someone else's emotional state and despite whatever comes back to you from them, right? Despite what happens, how to stay steady. It's a really big question. I don't have like a magic bullet for this, but I have practices that will support you, and they'll support you over time. It takes time to develop that steadiness, and it's really something to nurture and cultivate. The first step is always to get to know your nervous system, to notice the symptoms that you have when you're triggered. This is you getting to know your own emotionally charged self. No matter if the other person's very aware or not, you can be really aware of your own emotional charge and how your nervous system is reacting to the life around you. And then you can get to know what helps your nervous system to stay relaxed. What helps your nervous system to recognize safety? Our nervous system, our brain is wired to look for signs of a threat. It makes sense, just trying to keep us alive, right? Just trying to keep us safe. Thank you, brain. Thank you, nervous system. Thank you, body. Yet we're in a world now and an age now where we don't need to be so hypervigilant, where we can have more complex, creative conversations where two people disagree about things. And that can be okay. You can also ask for what you need. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling hurt, if you're feeling that somebody is out of line, that they're being aggressive towards you, something really is out of line, you can speak that too. Use your voice to speak your boundaries into being. Something as simple as, this is a really important topic. I can tell we have a lot to figure out with it, and I need about a 15-minute break to be able to come back with fresh eyes. Could we reconnect in 15 minutes? Honor yourself and honor the conversation. Then what do you do in those 15 minutes? For example, I would recommend not just going and looking around on TikTok or something, but actually paying attention to your body, which is where your nervous system resides, and helping your nervous system to recognize that safety is here now. So safety is here now through the sensation of touch. Safety is here now through the experience of seeing 3D objects in your space. So like looking at things, especially looking at things that are pleasant to you, like a beautiful plant or a beautiful landscape or your pet or something. This really is mindfulness work, right? Coming back to what's happening in the present moment reminds us that we're safe now. Another way to stay steady despite someone else's emotional state or whatever comes at you is to think about it metaphorically, that it's like a wave that's passing by. The more you get to know your own emotional waves, the more you can allow other people's emotional waves to pass as well. So if you're feeling really anxious, for example, before a presentation, it is just a wave, right? It will pass, and also it could pass sooner than you think. Doing a lot of the practices that I teach, people see those anxiety feelings pass really quickly, that they don't have to stay so stuck and get so bottled up. The more you get to know your own emotional body and nervous system, you can accept the fact that emotions and expression is part of life, and that life is not meant to be all even-keeled. I wonder if you learned that somewhere. I learned that somewhere from my grandmother and my mother about how good girls are always nice and polite. And being professional means that you're always nice and polite and prepared and know what you're talking about, and etc., right? The more we let go of that conditioning, the more you can leave room for the emotional states of yourself and others to move fluidly like a wave. Then it's no longer your job to calm people down, to figure out how to make them happy or comfortable. You're there with your message, with what you have to talk about, and you're going to stay focused on that. I hope this was helpful as some reframes around how to approach confrontation and emotionally charged conversations and how to reduce your anxiety. I think what's most important that I'll leave you with is that yes, it's about the reframes, but it's also about really being in your body. And that's why I want to make sure that you grab your copy of the Performance Anxiety Toolkit, where you can learn 3 grounding practices to reduce anxiety when the pressure's on. Just learning about it, thinking about it, long term when it really counts, not gonna cut it, right? You need to have the muscle memory in your body, in your nervous system, of what it feels like to be grounded and at ease. And then you'll be much more likely to be able to have that and apply that in the moment when something is confronting or emotionally charged. Thanks for listening. This has been She Speaks to Inspire with Julia Kraft, your authentic expression mentor and public speaking coach. I'm so glad you joined me. And I hope you got so much out of this episode. If you want to learn more about Speak to Inspire training programs and get inspired, head over to speaktoinspire.com or follow us on Instagram at She Speaks to Inspire. Never forget, the world needs your voice, and it's time for you to speak to inspire. See you in the next episode.